I'm Dana Harris Seeger. In this video, I am going to show you how to create a case-bound sketchbook. Materials that we're going to use for bookbinding today are paper. This is nice drawing paper, pretty thick, like 90 pound. And this is book board or Davy board. This is what we're going to use for our covers of our book and the spine. This is just an old piece of cardboard that I use for punching my holes, and you'll see that in a minute. Because when you stitch the signatures, the papers together, it's easier to pre-punch. So that helps. To actually do the punching, we use an awl or a scribe. This has a pointy end. Some of them taper a lot more, but this is one that's really easy to poke through. This is just cotton tape, cotton twill tape that you can get at the fabric store, and we're going to use this to help keep the signatures all bound together. Also, mull or super, which is also going to be on the binding of the spine to keep all those pages stitched and glued together along the spine. In order to stitch, we need some thread. This is waxed linen thread. It's really durable. It's not super duper thick, but it's thick enough that it's not going to break with all the pulling and tugging and opening and closing the book is doing. To stitch, I have an assortment of large chenille needles, which are sharp, but they have a large eye. So that's really helpful for sewing the pages together. Scissors are always helpful for cutting tapes or cutting the mull. Bone folder you'll use a lot. You'll use it to smooth out the creases, to fold the book covers when we cover this with some paper. A utility knife is good for cutting the book board. I'm also working on this self-healing mat because when you cut, you don't want to cut onto a surface that you like. So self-healing mats are really good for cutting book board or if you need to cut your paper down. A decorative thing that you can use that traditional books have, but it's not required, is a headband. And this is just a little piece of that you cut and put at the top of your book block, just right here when it's finished, and it just gives it a nice finished and decorative look. So I'll show you how to do that. And then we can talk about covers after we stitch and glue the book block signatures together. So first I'm going to fold all my pages into groups of 6. So when I'm folding the pages, I group 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm grouping 6 pages together. So 6 folios are going to make up one signature. I kind of tap it and squeeze it so that it's even. I lay it flat and then fold it away from me. I line up the edges, I press with my fingers, and then I take my thumbs and crease that fold. And then I'm going to punch the holes right in the middle of the fold. So I'm keeping that right in the fold. With my awl, I'm going to punch through all the layers. And the reason I use a template is because that way I can take the template off and put it on the next signature, and they're all the same. So all the holes will align. When I go to sew, it's not going to be hard to find the holes. So all the holes are punched, and they're all lining up. And now we're going to stitch it all together. So each signature is going to get stitched one at a time, and then the signatures will get linked together. And we will use our tapes, cut some cloth tape that will help keep them together and attach to the book, and then also our mull, which will get glued onto just the spine once the signatures are all sewn together. Remember when we did our punching, we had one on the end and then a group of two, a group of two, and a group of two. So that is where the tapes are going to go. So you're gonna lay them on the first signature. And then I take some blue tape. Blue tape is nice, or frog tape, because it pulls off pulls off, but it doesn't leave a residue. I'm going to pull, let's see. That's working. We'll go like this. So how to determine the length of how much you need, you're going to multiply the length of your signature by how many signatures you have. So if I've got 6 signatures, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then I'm going to take the length or the height of my book, because it has to go across that back and forth 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm going to add a few more inches so that I can have a tail for tying on and off. Okay, and then take one of my needles. These are chenille needles. So then you thread your needle, and I kind of double it over just with a couple, like maybe a foot of a tail, like that. And then I use these binder clips to keep the pages from moving around while I sew. So I'm going to start over here and poke it in. And if you turn it over, you can see it's coming through. So you're going to pull it through, and you're not going to go all the way. Not going to pull it all the way through. You're going to leave like 3 or 4 inches. And then you're going to stitch using a running stitch. So you're going to go in, out, in, out, in, out in each of the holes, and start sewing. So poking it in and up. Up. Make sure you're not making a big knot on this end. And I'm going to catch the tape when I go back down. And when I pull it through, pulling it through the bottom. Making sure that the tape is caught. And we'll be adjusting these as we go along, so don't worry too much if they're a little bit loose. And then back out. And in. All right, so at this point you've got one signature sewn. And I take this end and this end and kind of give just a little tug. You don't want to tug too much or you could risk cutting your paper through the holes. And then the next step is going to be to add another signature. And then we're going to do the exact same thing in this next signature. So you've already got the thread on the outside, so you're going to go in on the outside. So this is a little joining stitch. And you can see underneath. Let me poke it back up. So again, give a little tug. Kettle stitch. Oops, winding around. So you can fold it if it's easier, but from inside to out, underneath that stitch, like that. And then we'll do the rest of the signatures and I'll show you how to do the next step. Okay, so now that we're at the last stitch, I'm going to pull out the needle, tighten, and then right here where we would normally do a kettle stitch, we are going to do that, but we're going to add one more step, which is to loop the needle back through and make a knot. So make sure it's squeezed tight, and then you do that one more time. So we're going to go back under the loop, and then through for a knot. So you're going to knot it 2 times, basically just like you did at the head. And now you've tied it all off. So then we can trim, just like we did before. Put our needle away, and we're done with stitching. But I like to make it so that the spine stands up like this. And then we're going to get our glue out and a nice glue brush, which is just a hog's hair brush, or you could use a chip brush, doesn't matter. I'm just using Elmer's glue, which is a white PVA glue. You can easily mix this with water if you want to thin it out, but I don't for this purpose. All right, so it's also handy sometimes if you want to put another, if you want to squeeze another, binder clip at either end, because that kind of keeps the maul from feathering up. You can do both, or you can do just one end. Probably just do one end. And then we're going to take our glue, and I use a generous amount of glue, lots of glue. And you're going to get it just on the spine. So we really want to push it in there. So once we've got the maul in there, right, and then you just let it dry. And often I'll take this binder clip and just squeeze the middle, which tends to be the part that has the most trouble staying together. And then just set your little book up to dry for, I don't know, 20 minutes to an hour. And then Meanwhile, we'll do the covers and we'll put the book together.